Hey guys, I'm about to change my Porsche Active Dynamic Mount, PADM. It is the driver's side in this case. I used my iCarSoft diagnostic to determine that it is the driver's side. This is a 2013 911 C4S. So I will attempt to document this to the best of my ability, and we'll see how it goes. All right guys, so I've got 26 bolts, I think they were. I'll give you a rundown of where they were at. So we've got 2 in this area here behind the rear wheel, and 1 up at the top of the seam here where the rear bumper meets the rear quarter panel. And then we have 2 along the bottom edge here. 1, 2. If you follow this around, you'll see there's 1, 2 right there holding the back bottom edge. And then the same 2 on the other side are also on this side. If I can get that in the camera, sorry. They're under here, 1 and 2, I think that's them. 1 and 2. When you get up top, there is this one here, right at the corner of the taillight. And then you have several across the top here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you have to remove these plastic covers that cover the screws that adjust the position of the rear taillight. So the important thing to remember about these 2, particularly this one up front here, is that there is a nut underneath the screw that you are removing from the top. And that nut adjusts the position of the taillight along with the nut at the base of this one. So when you're doing this one, particularly when you're doing the front one here, you're gonna wanna put a screwdriver, a flathead, up against that and hold that nut still while you are loosening it from the top. I'll show you the tail light here. These are those 2 screws or 2 nuts I was telling you about. So when your tail light is in, you're going to want to make sure that you put a screwdriver in to hold those 2 things from spinning while you are undoing the screw that goes down through the top. So now, one other thing, there are some connectors that you're going to want to undo. One at the back of each one of the tail lights, of course. And then there's one to the back tail bar, which I'm trying to, or tail light bar, which I'm trying to get off now. But as soon as that comes off, the bumper will be ready to be removed. So just a sec. All right, everybody, with any luck, this bumper will now lift right off. Well, that was easier than I thought. There are, as I said, about 26 screws. They're all T25 or T30. So there are the 2 air boxes. So I have to get those out of the way. And then this is the culprit of my problem. The Porsche Active Dynamic Mount. These are fluid filled with very small metallic pieces inside of the fluid. And so depending on what mode you're driving in and the way that you're driving, these the electric current will be supplied to these metallic pieces essentially suspended in the fluid, which will stiffen the fluid and therefore stiffen the ride. And so the engine does not, or the ride of the engine essentially, so the engine does not move around and vibrate when you are under load. So anyway, these are really cool things. They are pretty fancy technology. Unfortunately, they do go bad. They're not very common, but it does happen. It's common enough to be written about. So I was one of the unlucky recipients of a bad PADM. So for me, I was out on a spirited drive on a Saturday morning. It was beautiful and sunny, although it had been raining that night, so the road was a little bit slick. Rounded a corner in a spirited fashion, as they say. The back end broke traction for just a hair of a second before the computer corrected, but in that hair of a second, there was a light that came on in the dash that said PADM fault. Said it was okay to drive, but so I thought, well, here we go. So I came home and pulled my CarSoft diagnostic tool on it and found that it was indeed the left one. Did lots of searching and reading online to find that it is replaceable. Unfortunately, it's also very expensive. These things were, let's see, I think I paid $1,400. Yes, $1,400 for an engine mount, which was a little painful. But I saved 2 hours of labor from the Porsche. I tend to do all of my own work because, first of all, I like doing it. And second of all, I think it's a little bit of robbery to pay, $335, I think it is, to have an oil change, for example, at the dealership. So the passenger side one is supposedly good. Really hoping after I get all this done and put back together, the passenger side one doesn't go off. I did pull the codes again, and it is only saying the right, or excuse me, it's only saying that the left one is bad. The other thing is the iCarSoft tool that you use to diagnose, it's not intuitive to work through the menu options. If you just run codes, it will say there's no fault detected. So you have to go into the menu a bit, and you're looking for level control. I think it's LEC or something like that. Maybe it's just LC, but you're looking for level control. And if you find level control in the menu, click on it and it will pull up this fault. All right, I'm back at it. More in just a second. As I ended up having to take the spoiler mechanism off, again, wasn't complicated. Once you do the electrical connectors, and then there's 2 bolts on either side. At the top, those are T45, and it lifts right out. There are a couple of electrical connections you have to undo. I also removed the air box, which is here. In order to remove the air box, this is the sound tube, by the way, that Porsche designed so that the sound from the patented sound from the 911 Flat 6 goes up into the cabin. So that's what that is. Some people actually plug this because they don't like the sound. I say don't buy the car if you don't like the sound. I think that's awful. So you undo this, undo your throttle body tube here, and then a couple of vacuum lines and a couple of connectors. Once you have that off, the throttle body's exposed, so you want to put a paper towel or something in there to keep that from getting anything on it. And then that right here is what I'm looking to replace. So I'm assuming you probably could have got to it from the top, although for me, yeah, I'm glad I did it this way. It just gives me more working room, and also gives me a chance to say that I've removed the bumper and I know how to do it now. Little trick that I use because I have a habit of missing connections when I put stuff like this back together. Any of these things that I unplug, I always just mark it with a piece of tape, blue tape, so that I know that when I put it back together, all of those go back to something. So anyway, just a little tip there. Okay, so now I'm gonna start to remove the PADM. once you get the back end open, it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple to get the mount itself out. There are 2 screws at the top here, 1 and 2, and then 1 at the very bottom. I don't know if I can get that. Yep, there it is right there. And once you get those off, then the mount, and you unplug the electrical connection, the mount just lifts right out. So it's pretty simple. This is the new mount that I bought. I'm just going to let's see here. The old part number 991-375-05907. The new one is 991-375-05908. So I'm going to assume that this is a newer version, perhaps more stable than the previous. So we shall see. All right, guys, that was one of the easiest jobs I have ever done. The most complicated thing really was getting the bumper off. The bumper, it's not really complicated. It's just a lot of, like I said, 26 screws. So I would definitely recommend that you change your own Porsche automatic dynamic. Oh, I can't remember what it's called, but the PADM. So the engine mount, it's really a simple thing to do. It took me about 3 to 4 hours and fairly pain-free. So getting to it was the most difficult part. Pay attention to any connectors. There's lots of different connectors you will unhook and lots of little vacuum line things. Just pay attention to what you're connecting and disconnecting, and you should be good. Now on to working on this beauty, my son's M2. Adios.